See, the thing about the Somalis in Minnesota is they're just a distraction. They're just the fall guy. Do you think that they're getting these federal grants and state grants without a white person signing off on them? Without a white person benefiting from this money being funneled through their community? The thing is, the same thing has happened in all other communities, but the other communities have been here long enough that they know how to itemize certain expenses. They know the loopholes. They got their lawyers on deck. So they're doing the same shit with the money, but it's just the immigrants are doing it more blatant because they're coming across from overseas so trusting. This is a land of milk and honey. So they hiding cash in their mattresses and shit like that. Whereas these people over here have offshore accounts. They have everything itemized. They have everything expensed a certain way. But it's just a distraction.
So basically, what I'm starting to see, which I always see it, is what look like black people to me, and apologists, white apologists, and things like that, are starting to make excuses for the fraud that is being uncovered by Somalis over there in Minneapolis. Now, I've always thought that if somebody do something that they're not supposed to do, because nobody made any excuses for people across the United States of America, black, white, and all in between, when everybody was getting caught up with PPP loan fraud, when the Biden administration extended it for 7 to 10 years for them to be able to catch you. Nobody tripped about it. Everybody was like, go down for it. I don't know why we have this attitude, this sentiment where it's like protectionism from or for migrants that come over here. And the biggest conversation is not even the fraud. The fraud is the cherry on top. The real conversations that people are having is, why is American culture being hijacked with all of these other cultures that then come over here and disrespect, while at the same time funneling money outside of the United States of America at the expense of taxpayers? Whoever it is that's assisting and benefiting from it and all of this other type of stuff, they should be held accountable too. But again, by default, it's the mysterious white man that we have to make sure that we hold accountable. We don't know who it is. We don't know if it's a congressperson. We don't know if it's an administrator. We don't know if they look like Somali. We don't know nothing. We don't know anything whatsoever. But it's a white man that had to sign off on it in order for these Minneapolis Somalians to be able to commit some of the fraud that they are now uncovering. And listen, they just know how to expense it a certain way. What the fuck are y'all talking about, bro? Why are we protecting people if they commit fraud and if they came under here under a system, then we need to hold them accountable? I mean, where is the discrepancy, and how are y'all now finding yourselves in a space to where you can defend or try to prevent the law from doing what they supposed to do, and you got this whataboutism about y'all? I don't get it, bro. I'm confused.
I'm from Minneapolis, and Somalians are just part of the culture here. As far back as I can remember, I've always seen Somalians. And in these past 5 years, the population increased so much. It went from seeing them to them feeling like the majority a lot of places that I go. And also, over the past few years, I've noticed that I see a lot of them with new cars. So I'm a handyman, and I worked on a lot of Section 8 housing to make sure they're up to standard. And one thing I've noticed when I go to these Section 8 houses, one, it's usually a Somali family. And what I mean usually, it's 9 times out of 10. And those houses usually have new cars in the front. I mean cars with an S, multiple new cars. And what I mean usually is like 8 out of 10 Somali houses, I've seen that. And I always wondered how someone on Section 8 can afford multiple new cars. I just couldn't put it together. So now finding out about this fraud stuff makes so much sense. And you know who I feel bad for other than me for paying for that shit with my taxes? Is Somalians who came here on the up and up and who didn't break the law. Because as a black man, I know how it feels to be judged because someone else with your same skin color did some stupid shit that you wouldn't approve of. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but one thing I do know is I've been saying for years we need to kick Tim Walsh out because he knew about this shit from the beginning.
With all this.
And I think that that was probably one of the more sensible takes of this whole situation, even though I don't necessarily know what it means to be a Republican or a Democrat when it comes to fraud. Fraud is fraud. And when somebody is finessing the system at taxpayer expenses, especially when they're not supposed to be here in the United States of America, then you have to be held accountable as a result of it. And I've seen plenty of fraud from the people that's inside of the United States of America with all of the stories in real life. I've seen people on Section 8 and getting food stamps and rich as hell. So, I mean, if we're using that as the litmus test to determine whether or not something is or isn't, um, I don't know what that means. I don't know how we play that. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how we then make excuses for it. It just is what it is. You got to hold it accountable.
We need to kick Tim Walsh out because he knew about this shit from the beginning.
With all this talk about how America's for America, they're mad that immigrants from these different countries are coming over, committing fraud in certain areas, etc. It's y'all's fault. Do we not remember the history of why they were brought over here in the first place? You did that to unseat Black Americans as the primary workforce. You then fed them rhetoric that said that we were lazy, to not be like us, to stay away from us, so much so that they came in thinking that they had more to give to this country than we did, than our ancestors did. And now the docile workforce that you brought over to show us a lesson actually showed you yours. Remember, the Industrial Revolution happened between 1880 and 1920, and roughly 15 years before 1880 was the freeing of slaves. So their reasoning of there wasn't enough native-born population to keep up with the work for the expansion that the United States was going through, you really believe that? There was enough native people. They just wanted it for cheap because they couldn't get it for free anymore. It's not funny, but everybody is getting their wake-up call. The subset of majority that wants to control and be in charge of everyone and everything, but can't get their own household affairs in order. The ones who came over here adopting that same supremacist white mindset about how Black Americans are. Like Paul Mooney said, everybody is getting their wake-up call. And now, people want to call out on Black people to help them in their time of need, when this whole time Black Americans have been saying we were always in need. We see the ploy, but because it benefited you, you never questioned it, and you darn sure didn't want to dismantle it. But now that it affects you, you get my drift? This is a wake-up call for everyone, all Americans. If you say you are Americans for America, then it's important that you realize the mistakes that if it wasn't you who made it, that your ancestors made, and to not repeat the pattern. Because if you continue in this pattern thinking that you are what's best for this country, meaning a certain demographic is the only thing that's best for this country, all you're going to do is make it worse for yourself.
All I know is this. Listen, I'm not really sure what all of that other rhetoric is, but I know this for sure, and two things is for certain. That there is a segment in the population, and a lot of them, that are here. They came under here illegally. They came under here in a temporary protective status. They came over here over asylum. They came over here over a lot of different things that the previous administration and even administrations before them allowed for them to do so. When they came over here, they hijacked the culture, and now they disrespecting us. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Henley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love y'all. I appreciate you. I'll let you guys later. Peace.